At Your End Step is brought to you by Comic Town and BCW Supplies. Hello, and welcome to At Your End Step. My name is Morgan, and I'm here with Mike.
Hello.
And we have another fun-filled episode for you folks this week. It's going to be a little late, because it should be technically released today, the day we're recording. But we're going to do a podcast doubleheader. So after this, we're going to record a baseball podcast, and then, I will be on it, so I don't have to worry about like any weird magic stuff flying out of my mouth. But
the doubleheader was very flavorful, though.
yeah, you're welcome.
That's good.
Well, we have another fun-filled episode for you folks this week. If I haven't already said that, I don't know if I repeated myself.
You've already told it's fun-filled, so now you've promised double the fun.
Double the fun. It's going to be like...
This is not double McGum.
No, that's a registered trademark, I'm pretty sure.
We can either double pleasure.
Do not sue us, Wrigley.
The Cubs suck.
We have some community topics to discuss. Of course, we had announcement day, and we wanted to talk about what was going to be going on in the future of Magic for a little bit in the future. Then we have Battle Bond stuff, because we're in a spoiler season for that. And some other stuff that was discussed about Buy a Box Pro-Woes to kind of give you a little bit of a hint at the last thing we're going to be talking about there. So let's jump into announcement day, which was really just like Ravnica Day. Okay, like guess what? We all figured it out. Hooray! We're going back to Ravnica and like staying there for a bit.
That's gonna pull the LeBron though. We're not going back. Not once, not twice, 3 times.
3 times. So it's going to be Guilds of Ravnica is going to be the fall set.
Yep.
Excuse me. And then we're going to have the set for that is going to be Ravnica Allegiances. And then Mike has taken some flavorful nods here with the third set name, which has not been announced, but it's going to be Avengers Ravnica War.
I mean, that's what it feels like, let's be honest.
Yeah,
we're going to have like 30 Planeswalker characters all getting beat by a dragon who probably has some sort of mystical gauntlet.
Yeah, more than likely, and has an army at his control. You know, we're lining things up here.
That's true.
I think Marvel might have a court case. But Guilds of Ravnica is going to be Selesnya, Boros, Golgari, and not Simic, a blue-black.
Dimir.
And then Ravnica Allegiances is going to be...
It's just Allegiance, just so you know.
Oh, Allegiance.
Did I put it in as
It's Allegiances on
here?
here.
Oh, it auto-corrected there. I apologize.
Ravnica... Allegiance is going to be Azorius, Rakdos, Gruul, Simic, and Orzhov.
Yeah.
So much like the previous sets where they kind of shuffle in the guilds in different orders, we're kind of getting a different mix in these two. And then who knows what the third set is going to be. We do know that it is going to be an important story point that does happen in that third set. That's what we're building up to. We've been building up to it since Amonkhet, pretty much, if not before that.
Technically, we've been building up to it since Shards.
Yeah.
Right? Like... so yeah, they said that Ravnica Allegiance is the quote-unquote penultimate moment of the Gatewatch story. So that means that the third set there is be the culmination of all of these sort of moving pieces, the end of Dominaria and you know Ixalan and all of these things moving together. And I think it sounds pretty cool. Like we're about to see a lot of characters on Ravnica. Like.
Yeah.
A lot of characters on Ravnica.
100% sure.
And I think hopefully by the time we get to that third set, the Ravnica War, we're going to see like an all-out like war, which I think is pretty cool. There was a Planeswalker War alluded to in a comic series back in the 90s that didn't really get to happen, and it's something they talk about a lot. And like, now we can get a Planeswalker War. Now, granted, this is a post-Mending Walker War, so it's like actually just a bunch of wizards, but it'll still be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I think it's just interesting like how they've tied this all back together. The Magic story today had Teferi telling people like, hey, will you join us and like come fight like Bolas? And he was like, yeah, just so you know though, like I lost to him once before, and like
he done stuck me in his gob. Yeah. Like he done eaten me.
Yeah, I got annihilated. Actually, it was kind of good, and it was so casual. But it's just like everybody, like Chandra after that was like, "Don't worry, we lost too." And Karn's like, this bodes well. Like, I see a lot of success in our future. So I do like the sort of idea they've really set up. They've done a good job setting up Nicol Bolas to be this really powerful, like, evil presence. So I'm glad to see a payoff. Hopefully, we won't be tired of Ravnica by the time it comes around.
Yeah.
But I have to feel like the different characters being present on Ravnica always gives a sort of a different idea. This set or this block though is a way for them to sort of cheat. I don't know if you noticed because it's not a block. Each one is its own.
Correct.
But technically, that's how before when you had Return to Ravnica was 5 guilds and then Gatewatch was 5 guilds. So the sets themselves already function like they did before. So even though we don't have block structure anymore, it still kind of is.
Yeah. And it's nice just for the sheer fact is that we don't have to worry about like this third set having to work with the previous two in draft.
Right.
Which is really important because we had Dragon's Maze, which was drafted with all 3, and that's why it was kind of a stinker. It was just bad in general.
The draft format was really good. Dragon's Maze was just a bad set for Magic, but the draft format was great.
But I'm thinking, like, as far as...
like that's
it doesn't have to have...
Like Modern Masters 3 is so good because that draft format was good.
Sure. But I guess, like, it's not necessarily beholden to the previous
No,
two.
of course not, which is nice. And it'll be interesting to see what happens to, like, what does Ravnica look like when it's being sort of, like, blown up a little bit.
Yeah,
which
it's
is
getting
what
destroyed.
I assume was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, one can only, guesstimate. The other cool thing is going to be they're going to have guild packs, which are a new product they're going to be releasing.
Now, that's guild packs, CKS, not more guild packs. There's only one of those still.
Which are going to be themed, sealed product for a particular guild. So when the first set hits, it's going to be the guilds in the set, and the same thing for when the second set happens. And they're going to have cards in them that are from all of Ravnica. So when we are looking at, all the way back to original, Ravnica City of Guilds block into Return to Ravnica block into what's coming out now, which is really, really cool. It's kind of interesting to, like, think about them printing cards from sets that, were from a while back, which I think is pretty interesting. And I think it's really cool that they're going to, like, have all this like sealed product you can buy that really supports, a guild that you have in mind, and it all works together in some facet. And you can battle them against each other is why they're being, sold pretty much.
No, that's a cool idea. I just noticed that they said they use the word swag. Like the traditional version, SCHWAG, that version isn't really used very commonly, mostly because it's now just a euphemism for weed. Like, I looked it up, I was like, wait, swag? Like, is that what we're saying now? So, good times.
Yeah. But, I mean, like...
I'm glad we're using the official word, but just be careful that it's a double entendre for drugs.
It's pretty cool. We'll wait to see... I'm excited to see, like... what it looks like and what the cards look like and what cards. I wonder if they'll have a list of what cards could show up. Maybe we just have to assume it is
all bad cards.
I mean, there are a lot of bad cards across those, multiple Magic sets. But it's kind of wild. Moving on. Let's move on to Battle Bond. So we're in spoiler season, so we have the mechanics of the set and some cards to talk about potentially. So let's talk about the mechanics here real quick, and we'll start with the first one that we got to see, which was in the announcement day video, which is Partner With. So this is sort of an upgrade or a shift, a sidestep of Partner, which is a traditionally Commander mechanic that we've seen in one of the recent Commander releases. And Partner With basically is a card will have it if it's partnered with another specific card. So one of the examples we have is the kid and his imaginary monster. What is his name? Pierre?
Pure Imaginative Rascal.
Yeah, and then his imaginary friend is Toothy.
Yeah.
And they are partnered with each other. So what that means is that when you, like Pierre or Toothy enter the battlefield, they can search for each other. Or you can have target players search for them. So you don't necessarily have to have them in your deck, but your partner in Battle Bond, who you are drafting with or playing a limited match with, might have it in theirs, and they can search for it and put it in their hand. Which is a really flavorful mechanic for the way that the set is supposed to be played, and it still works the same way as partner in Commander already works. So these two can be your commanders, and you just ignore the search for because they will always be in the commander zone, as long as you want them to be there, I believe. And then they work in tandem with each other, both on your battlefield, but also across the battlefield as well. So if your partner has one and you have the other, then they should be able to functionally work together in some facet for a positive synergy. I believe this one is Pierre reads. It's just a 1/1 human legendary creature for 2 and a green, and it says if one or more counters would be put on a permanent your team controls, that many plus 1 of each of those kinds of counters are put on that permanent instead. And then Toothy reads, whenever you draw a card, put a 1/1 counter on Toothy, and then when Toothy leaves the battlefield, draw a 1/1 counter draw a card for each 1/1 counter on it.
You enjoy the name Toothy too much. I can hear it in your voice. You're singing it. It's Toothy.
Toothy. Get them, Toothy. But they're obviously legendary creatures with this, but they're also non-legendary creatures with this mechanic on them as well. An important thing to note in the actual limited format or actual pack collation, these will always appear together, and if they are foil, they will both be foil, which is pretty good as well.
Yeah. A lot of double rare packs in Battle Bond.
There will be a fair amount. To be honest, we have seen some cool synergies with some of the rares that have shown up, and they even point out that they are enemy colors. So Pure is green and Toothy is blue, because the actual draft colors are allied colors. So these are supposed to be divergent. So you're supposed to
makes sense.
You're supposed to draft them with one of each in each of your Battle Bond decks when you are constructing with your teammate. The next mechanic we have is Assist, and Assist is really easy. If a card has Assist, it just means another player can pay up to the generic amount of mana. So the example we have is Huddle Up, which is 2 generic and a blue. So they can your partner can pay the 2 generic to help you cast this card. So Huddle Up is 2 generic and a blue with Assist, and it says 2 target players each draw a card. So it's like a divination divided by 2.
Yeah, I think this is the mechanic that I enjoy the most, and it definitely is the mechanic that's got the best names for this set.
Yes.
Things like Game Plan is an assist card. I want to find a couple of these. Out
of Bounds, which is really good, which is just a cancel variant. But yes,
there's the crowd goes wild.
Yeah.
Just go. So like the ones that like make this feel like a sporting event are all sort of assist cards, which is kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm. The next mechanic I have is Support, and this is a returning mechanic. This is from Oath of the Gatewatch, which makes sense because Oath of the Gatewatch was them trying to do something, do something extra for Two-Headed Giant sealed pre-releases specifically. So Support just reads Support X, so it'll be support and a number. And it says put a 1/1 counter on each of up to 2 other target creatures. So that's support 2 is 2, support 3 is 3. That's how many creatures you can put +1/+1 counters on, and it's just target creatures. So if you want your opponents to creatures have +1/+1 counters, go for it. I don't know. I'm not your mom, and I can't tell you what to do.
I feel like you just like decide to go to like draft Battle Bond with a person that you don't actually like very much, and you want to communicate to them that you don't like them by only supporting the other team.
Just like support that creature. Those are the opponent's creatures. That creature and that creature.
Like, but why? It's like I'll play this partner thing. Go ahead and search your library. Oh, it's not in my library. Deal with it.
Deal with it. Fail to find. And the last one we have is. Mechanic we have is Friend or Foe. So this is similar. It feels similar to like the vote mechanic from Conspiracy. Yeah. So the example we have for it is Pier's Whim, which is 3 generic and a green for a sorcery. For each player, choose Friend or Foe. Each friend searches their library for a land card and puts it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffles their library. Each foe sacrifices an artifact or enchantment they control.
So this is another good way to mess with your teammate. Just like slowly point your finger on the table, like friend. What? There are opponents. You friend. That's our other opponent. Foe. Wait a second. So no, this is pretty cool. This reminds me of the there's another commander mechanic, the one where I'm trying to remember, think of the dragon card, where like everyone but this player gets a dragon.
Yeah,
like that reminds me of that too. Like you get this, you don't.
You don't. You actually get a bad thing. How about that?
Yeah.
I do like how you have to say that you're your own friend.
Yeah.
Foe. You're pointing at yourself. I'm like,
I'm aware.
I'm aware.
I'm an enemy unto myself.
But I think I think some of these are pretty cool. They are kind of weird just for the sheer fact that specifically assist is like you need a teammate for it to make any sense. Your opponent's not going to help you cast your spells. It does say target player though, so you can ask.
I mean, that'd be sweet for like political commander games, I guess, where it's just like, hey, you want to help? You got a lot of mana over there. We can do this.
That's true. A lot of this, a lot of what people have been saying is this is sort of Commander Masters,
yeah.
Which that's okay. I mean, it's kind of disappointing that these cards can't go into Brawl because there are a lot of cool things. Like I know that a couple of our friends have asked me to be like, are these Brawl legal? And it's like, no, that's still standard. It's like, dang. Did you have any specific cards though that you wanted to sort of bring up?
Let me mention a couple of high-profile reprints first.
Okay.
So Land Tax is getting a reprint here, which hasn't been printed since the Judge foil. So this is a long time on that reprint. True Name Nemesis, which, by the way, this is actually the perfect format for True Name Nemesis, because you can only choose one player, and if you don't know how Two-Headed Giant works, like, it's one opponent, like one team against you, but they are individual players, so it's the other person can kill it. So it's probably actually pretty bad in this format. And then also Doubling Seasons is the marquee card. So as far as a reprint, which is cool. As far as new cards, I think I want to mention Arena Rector.
Excuse me?
Darnell killed her. Anyways, this is a 1/2 for a 1/2 creature human cleric that costs a 3 generic and a white. When Arena Rector dies, you may exile it. If you do, search your library for a Planeswalker card and put it onto the battlefield and shuffle your library. Now, this is specifically stylized after Academy Rector, which was a really, really broken card from the Urza's block because what wasn't, they let you go and find an enchantment and put it into play. And essentially, in that it was just enchantment or artifact or enchantment. I don't know. Either way, it did busted things. So this is a cool little callback of flavor, but also like really powerful. It is an interesting rattlesnake where you just sit there and it's like, yeah, don't attack me, I'll block, and I'll get whatever I want. But more than likely, you're going to find a way to crack this egg for yourself and then go get you want. So this is go get you want.
Go get you want.
Go get what you want. So I think that card's pretty cool. I think you should probably also mention the Planeswalkers that we got. Will Kenrith and Rowan Kenrith. Two things about this, before I even say what they do. I want to know what plane they're from. These are very Aryan, like, traditional fantasy-looking people, and with a name like Will on a Planeswalker, and Rowan, which is like, so Will is very British, Rowan is very Irish. This is our pure medieval fantasy, like, plane, right? And I don't know that we've ever really gotten that, so...
Yeah, I don't know if we'll get any actual story or anything
I
information
doubt it,
about these characters.
Blogatog, like Maro was asked that, and he was like, "Yeah, they're from some plane." I was like, "You suck."
I mean, like at the very least, it probably means that they're not from this plane.
That's true. So Will Kenrith is blue, and it costs 4 generic blue. Rowan Kenrith is red, and it's 4 generic red. They both start with 4 loyalty. And have 3 abilities. Will Kenrith, the blue one, says +2 until your next turn. Up to 2 target creatures each have base power and base toughness 0/3 and lose all abilities. -2 target player draws 2 cards until your next turn. Instant sorceries and planeswalker spells that player casts cost 2 less to cast. -8 target player gets an emblem with whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell. Copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. Rowan's has +2 target player's next turn. Each creature that player controls attacks a fable. -2 Rowan deals 3 damage to each tapped creature that player or target player controls, and -8 target player gets an emblem with whenever you activate an ability that isn't a mana ability, copy it. You may choose new copies targets for the copy. And then they both say at the bottom, partner with Will or Rowan Kenrith, and then Will and Rowan Kenrith can be your commander. This is the first time they have ever they had a rule that you don't reference commander on these kind of products, but they specifically broke that rule here so you can play with these as your commander.
Yeah,
which I thought was kind of interesting. I think that also tells us that the Brawl, like a Planeswalker can be your commander change may not be coming to regular commander soon, because this would imply it's not, or else they wouldn't have needed this text.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
But yeah, so we have planeswalkers that have text that say they can partner, and then planeswalkers that can be your commander again, and they do work pretty well with each other. You know, like Will makes things 0/3, then she makes them attack. They're easy to kill. It does cost 12 mana to have them both in play, though. So, but I guess like the one time you get to do this in Battle Bond will be really, really cool.
Yeah.
So,
if one is there, the other one's going to be there in your pack. So you will be able to open both of these and have both of them, which is that's a sweet double mythic rare pack that you get to open. I don't necessarily think these cards will be very expensive, but hey. That you're probably doing pretty well in your draft or your sealed deck, I would assume, or your sealed pool. I don't necessarily think like there's too much to talk about that's super relevant at this point in time. I think there have been some interesting complaints about the art in this set. Have you seen any of that?
I have seen some of that, yeah.
And I don't get it. I don't think the art is. A lot of people have said that it's too like cartoony or Hearthstone-esque.
Like it looks like unstable.
And I think for the plane itself makes makes sense. Pardon me while Mike's the washing machine takes off through the stratosphere and it's gone. It's gone. That washing machine's heading to the moon. I don't think it's too, overly like digital or cartoony or anything like that. I think like it fits in with what this plane is, which is like kind of, wacky arena, plane.
I don't know. I kind of disagree. If you look at a card like Rushblade Commander, which is a 2/2 creature where warriors or team controls have haste, it looks like the art from like a Nintendo 64 era video game manual. Like
I'm not gonna deny that that's bad art. Like that art is bad on that card for sure. But all sets have bad art.
But
on
I think
cards.
most of the art looks like that. I think the art that is new for this plane looks cartoony, and I think the thing that bothers me about it a little bit, whatever, it can look like what it wants. I'm not really that bothered by it, but this set did the same thing that Conspiracy did, where it just mixes and reprints in addition to it. And it didn't change the aesthetic for those. So you've got Shoulder to Shoulder, which is a support card that was from the Zendikar block, with the Gatewatch. It has Gideon literally fighting against Eldrazi. So it's this very realistic depiction of Gideon fighting these horrific xenomorph style monsters. And then the next card is hey, here's that goofy crowd favorite you love, and that's going to be in the same pack. And that aesthetic is super off. So I think that's a little weird, but. Hey, look at this! Look at this fella! Look at this fan favorite. Here's the Eldrazi. It's kind of awkward because references to the Eldrazi are there, or Doom Dissenter. Here's a guy literally banished to the desert because he wasn't the fan favorite. I don't know. So I think that's a little awkward, but.
Yeah, I don't. I think that's more of a financial constraint than anything else.
Oh no!
Commissioning new art for all those would be.
I'm just saying they should
costly.
But by letting your art become so sort of cartoony, it does make it awkward. Looking at Out of Bounds, which has these one-eyed homunculi creatures holding their hands up because the spell went out of play. Next to the Therese Nielsen Sword to Plowshares art here on Mythic Spoiler is just these are from the same set or world, I guess. So. I don't know. I should say, for pretty straightforward, I'm so far not a fan of this set. So I think that, I don't know, it looks pretty boring. And that's sad, because I should be excited about this, but everything looks super safe so far.
Yeah, I think, it's not surprising. It's not surprising to me that it looks super safe, to be perfectly honest. I wasn't expecting them to, truly blow me away with the supplemental product. And to be honest, if this looks boring, then that's fine. I care more about the cards that I'm going to be actively playing with than this supplemental set. That's not going to be my main focus.
And that's fair, but I get, that just sounds super defeatist for the product then. Yeah, it's fine. We can ignore it because it's boring and they didn't take any risks with it. So,
but I mean, while we do play Magic for fun, we definitely have more of a competitive bend to it.
Sure.
And I don't necessarily see this product is for us.
I think it is for me, though. I love Two-Headed Giant. I was excited when they announced this. I like Two-Headed Giant drafting. I love playing that as a format with my wife. And so
we Two-Headed Giant, and I like doing it too. Yeah. But I think I think this is not necessarily the commonplace. I don't think everyone just is always like on top of Two-Headed Giant. Like I just don't think like that's a common thing that people play.
Did you played World of Warcraft, right?
Yes.
Did you ever play Guild Wars?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what the difference between like why this feels so frustrating to me is like I enjoyed WoW a bunch, and I was like, okay, I'm going to try Guild Wars, right? And in Guild Wars, I was presented with a slight incline, right? I was on a path, and there was a slight incline, and I tried to go down the slight incline, and I couldn't. I had to walk on the path, right? Because even though the world was presented as three-dimensional, the game itself had many sections where digitally it was on rails. And that's exactly how this set feels, where it's like, look at these cool things that could have been done, but instead, we're going to give you every partner pairing in a pack, and they're all going to do pretty bland things, because partner's already the cool mechanic, so we don't have to do anything with it. And that's how it feels. Like even like the friend or foe card's like, okay, you get to search for a land, and I'm going to naturalize you. And you're like, cool, could we staple any other bad effects to this? Because friend or foe sounds funny enough that we could ignore the fact that the cards are bland. So, I don't know. Maybe we'll get some more, but we've already seen a lot of the rares. Even like the two Planeswalkers are cool, but they don't do anything. So
no, I agree. They definitely feel like Planeswalker deck Planeswalkers.
Yeah, they do.
Which is kind of disappointing.
And they're more powerful than that. They are, but they also cost $1 million.
Yeah, they still cost $6, which is very detracting for us, for people who look for things that are competitively cast. I just think, like, I wasn't expecting very much from this set because it's not necessarily geared for the competitive player. The competitive player should be excited about the awesome reprints that are coming to make things a little bit more financially viable to purchase, and some of the things that are being in foil for the first time. We're looking at you, True Name Nemesis, that has never been in foil before, which is exciting for people who like to have all foil
really
decks.
Bad set symbol, but you got it.
But you got it. You got it.
I guess we're going to talk in circles here, so we can move off this.
I think that you like Two-Headed Giant in regular sets because it's more challenging. There are more things you still have to understand the advanced level set, and that the set, while it works in Two-Headed Giant, isn't designed for it, so the rails aren't there.
No, this set though just feels boring and poorly designed. Like I'm going to be super aggressive in saying that. Like this feels like that people patting themselves on the back because they have a cool world idea and look at these mechanics that play with teams, but there's nothing about that like this. Just I don't know. It feels boring and bland. And
I would like to get like an opinion of someone who is definitely more on the casual side. I would love to see. I would love to see that.
If you are a listener and you are super excited about this set, tweet at it.
Yeah, send us
an email. Let me know why you're excited about it. Because like when I look at something like Unstable, which was in the same realm of products, Unstable, goofy, wacky, all these things, wonderfully designed format, great draft format. Both conspiracy sets promised a weird take on drafting, did that, and were sets that felt fun and cohesive, right? And you had to play in a weird way to do that. Those were 4-player games, you know what I mean? So I think that just looking at the design of the other supplemental products that had a weird hook, like Fake Set or Play It in multiplayer, felt like much, much better, like as far as from a design perspective than this does. So I don't think you can excuse it just by saying like, oh, well, maybe it's not for me. Like those sets aren't for me either, and I can still objectively look at them and say these were better designs. So, but that's all right. We can move on.
Sure. So the last thing we wanted to talk about here this week is we wanted to talk about the buy box unique promo. So obviously with Dominaria, we had a unique buy box promo in Firesong and Sunspeaker, and this is going to be continuing. This was also came along as an article on announcement day, I believe, or soon there around, and it obviously it is not something that we are for on this podcast here, but I
think you make it sound like we're making a bold political statement.
Listen,
I want you guys to know that we are against
staunchly
this,
against,
and we are running for a Senate seat in October. So
we're gonna run it for the Azoria Senate.
The Azoria Senate. That's really good. We're gonna go in there and give a vote of no confidence to Chancellor Valorum, and we're gonna get in.
We're gonna stop the empire before it starts.
I'm sorry for getting peanut butter in everybody's chocolate there. My apologies.
But so the article said this is going to continue, and then you said that you had pulled up basically a question on the Blog Talk.
So
Mario's blog.
They suggested that it was they essentially suggested it was pretty successful because they had the sales numbers to back it up. And then, so someone asked, there was a vocal contingent. We were sort of negative about it, but there was a pretty loud contingent of negativity about this, which again makes sense. Like, hey, you have to buy this to get this card. Like that's. And when you say it like that, maybe it sounds like backwards because, of course, you should buy the product to get the card, but that's not really how Magic has functioned in a long time. And you also have a history of those kind of promos being really dangerous, like Nathalie Dragon and things like that. Blog Talk responded to it, so Mark Rosewater, and he said, yes, there was negative vocal feedback, but that wasn't all of the feedback. So it's easy to get caught up in an echo chamber and believe that what you believe is what everyone believes, which is hilarious because then, of course, he's just echoing corporate back down, but whatever. He says, also the reason behind the promotion was to encourage more players to purchase boxes in the local game stores that run our organized play. The reaction from the stores was through the roof positive. The Buy a Box promo did exactly what it was set up to do, which is promote the local game the local game stores where Magic players go. So why are we continuing the promotion? Because it was very successful. It was what it was created to do, and it was liked enough by our audience to justify it. I'm skipping around the quotes a little bit, but I'm not misleading in any fashion. So I guess like that. The frustrating thing about that answer is that it doesn't tell the whole truth in any fashion. Like I bought 2 boxes of Dominaria, and I think I said on here before I hadn't bought a box of Sealed Magic since 5th Dawn. Right? Doesn't mean I haven't had sealed boxes of Magic, but I have not paid money for a sealed box since 5th Dawn, which was the third. If you don't know, it was the third set in the Mirrodin cycle, the original Mirrodin cycle. Okay, I was in high school still. So I was so excited about Dominaria that I wanted to go and show my support for buying it. In addition, they also had the promotion where if you pre-ordered it, you could pick it up during pre-release weekend. We had a GP locally the next weekend, so we could buy boxes and then do sealed pool practices with the packs, which made a ton of sense. I know that I bought boxes for that reason, but also because I wanted to buy boxes of this set. I was very happy with this set. Friend of the show who's been on before, Brian Keller, he also went and bought sealed boxes of this set. He said he hadn't bought a sealed box since Shadowmoor. So, when you're talking about this, these are people, we are supposed to vote with our wallets. So I voted with my wallet for the set and for the pre-release promotion, and I got 2 Firesong and Sun speakers. Hooray. You know what I mean? It's fine. I'm glad I have the card because I built a Brawl deck with it. But there was no decision making in that for me to go, I am going to do this because I get this card.
Yeah, that was icing on the cake.
And no one asked me that. It's not like I went to the store and they were like, so can you tell us why you bought these boxes? It was Firesong and Sunspeaker? Okay, cool. We'll check that off. So when he says that the stores reported that it was because of the promo, that feels really disingenuous to me.
100%.
It wasn't because your set was really good. It wasn't because of this new window we could buy the boxes.
Yeah.
You couldn't buy them on the internet. Come on. If you want to continue the promotion, that's fine. Do what you want. I think it's bad. Most people seem to think it's bad. But whatever. But don't pretend like the promo is why something happened, because that's just going to justify making a promo that breaks later.
Yes.
Right?
So, if Wizards could look me and look all the players in the eye and be like, "Hey, we're going to keep doing,"
they don't have enough eyes.
Yeah, it's true. If they could say and with full confidence that they're like, "Hey, we're going to keep doing this, and we will never make a mistake. We will never accidentally print a card that is viable." In constructed, yet still be somewhat appealing to people that want this card, then I wouldn't care. This would just be another thing. You can continue making really bad garbage cards for Brawl / Commander, and that we never have to worry about, and other Eternal formats. But Wizards, you're all a bunch of humans working there, and you're gonna make a mistake.
We can just look at the history, True Name Nemesis.
How about all the recent bannings we've had in Standard in the last 2 years?
Cards with limited print runs or limited availability, right? I'm thinking about the Commander cards, like True Name Nemesis, which, whatever. Scavenging Ooze, which they almost immediately had to print in a standard format because it was ridiculous. When you have such a limited cap, and those are cards that technically could be reprinted in those sets, this can't be reprinted in a normal fashion. So, yeah, it would not take much for one of these to be... Firesong and Sunspeaker is literally seeing minor Commander play and Brawl play, and that's it. And the card's $10.
Yeah.
Just because of scarcity. Because you could literally... The set is still... Dominaria is still new, but you can't go buy that card. You can't go get that card. So, they've already made a bad card that's worth double digits in price just by the nature of its scarcity. So suggesting that, they don't even have to make a big mistake. They have to make a playable mistake. You know what I mean? We saw, what was that, Flame Slash or not Flame Slash? What was the card? that
I think it was Flame Slash.
Flame Slash deals 4 damage to a creature. Or to a creature for 1 mana.
Flame Lash.
Flame Lash, that might be it. Was a red card from the
Vastly different
from one of the Chandra Planeswalker decks that started seeing standard play when Gideon was with 4 mana Gideon was still around as a way to deal with it. And that card started pushing close to $5 for a little bit just because you could only get it through the Planeswalker deck. And that card was bad. It was Lightning Blast, a card that has been printed so many times in Magic it doesn't matter. But because of that specific scenario, that common, because you can only get it in a certain way, jumped in price. Yep. So you're telling me that if a card just becomes a nominal sideboard card, and you printed it this way, that card's going to be $20, $30, $40. So and more if it's really good. It's obscene. So they're not going to stop doing this until they either... they're going to do one of two things. They're going to continue to make worse cards, which are just going to be who cares in the first place, because they have to be exciting enough that they can somehow prove that it helps sell the set, right? So they got to make them exciting enough to do that. So they either make them super bad and it won't matter, or they'll finally break it and they'll have to cancel it, and they'll go, well, it was working until this, but everyone else will go, but we told you this was going to happen.
Yeah, we foresaw this. We didn't have to be Nostradamus. We could have been your typical give me $20, I'll read your palm fortune teller to see this coming down the pipeline, because you have a history. You just have a history of making these terrible decisions. And the funny thing that is going to happen is when this eventually happens, when they continue doing this and then they make a mistake, what's going to happen is either they're going to have to figure out a way to pump more cards into the format somehow, or they're just going to ban it. Because that's the easy way. I don't have to print any more of these cards. Oops, we made a mistake. Banned. I feel guess what?
But then, who's oh wait, but didn't I specifically buy a box so I could have this thing?
Yeah, good job, idiot. Thanks for the money.
That's literally going to be a call to to WotC. Hi, yeah. So you guys banned this thing, and I bought a box because of it. Suck it. So I just don't understand what is good about that, and if they really think the Fire Song and Sunspeaker sold this set,
they're wrong. They're just wrong.
Yeah,
I hate to say it. I've seen people who own stores and all this was great for my store. Guess what? The other things were great for your store. Yeah. Dominaria being good was great for your store. You being able to sell it early was great for your store. Yeah, Fire Song and Sunspeaker didn't matter. It didn't matter. Stop using this. It's a bad example. All the other changes that they did to make the set sell were good, but this promo is just it will eventually bite them.
It just. Great.
Yeah.
Let's move out of it.
Please. So, before we move into competitive, I do want to give a shout out to Comic Con, our lovely sponsor. You can check them out by doing a search for Comic Con Gaming Center on Facebook. They're going to be hosting a couple of events. So this Saturday is going to be a standard IQ, and then on June 2nd, we are going to be having Cersei Games Regionals at the store. So definitely check out more information about those two events by visiting their Facebook page and saying that you're going to be coming along to it. So, competitive. We had a GP and an Open this weekend. GP was in Toronto, and it was team constructed. So another team event. This one a little bit of a different flavor since it wasn't Star City. The weird thing about this tournament is coverage was just quietly canceled. They were gonna have coverage, but then it seemed like no one talked about it when it wasn't there.
Yeah, I got the notification that coverage had started. It was just sent out, and I was like, no, there wasn't any.
I don't think so.
So wish we would have turned that off. But yeah, it's a little weird.
So of course this tournament had a top 4 as it was a team event, and I want to take a look at the winning team once I pull them up.
The winning team was the team of Morgan McLaughlin, Chris Harabas, and Lucas Xiao, defeating the team of Brad Nelson, Seth Manfield, and Brian Bronduin in the finals.
Wow.
So a star-studded.
Yeah, for sure. From their deck list, we see a black-white vehicles in standard, piloted by Morgan McLaughlin. We have Chris Harabas playing humans in modern, and then Lucas Yao's 4-color control, so 4-color Leopold in the legacy seat. Not surprising to see humans here. Definitely one of the most popular modern decks. Some might say even the best modern deck around currently. And not seeing Grixis Delver in the Legacy seed is kind of refreshing. It's cool to see Elves. So we see Elves in the top 4, piloted by Robert Smith. I guess he got over, being in the Cure and was like, hey, I'm going to go to this Legacy GP. And we also see Oliver 2, Oliver 2's team of Team Oliver's Company. It's Oliver 2 and Oliver Tomashko, partnered with Noah Walker. Noah Walker's playing Grixis Delver. Don't worry, he didn't stray too far from the path. Tomashko was on Black Red Hollow One, and then Oliver 2 was playing No Win Condition. Blue White
Control.
Creatureless Control. And then the finalist team is down here. So we had Brad Nelson also playing Blue White Control. Creatureless, and then Seth Manfield was on Jeskai Control, so it was all Teferis all the time.
Yeah.
And then 4-color, so 4-color Leovold was what BBD was playing.
So can we talk about how Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, is seeing more modern play right now than Jace the Mind Sculptor?
He's better in modern.
I don't know how to feel.
I own 4 of them. I'm perfectly okay with this.
You're super happy. I not even from a financial perspective. I just man, we talked about those unbannings, and we talked about how you should let this play out, and how technically Modern had never seen Jace, right? Obviously Jace is good in Legacy, but that is a format where there's not very few decks that start off with creatures or burn spells very quickly. It just isn't that kind of format. Even the decks with a lot of creatures aren't that aggressive most of the time.
Right.
Death and Tax is probably your that, right? Maybe Elves, are they attacking that often, right? So even when you land that card, you're protected a little bit more, and you have Force Will to protect it. In Modern, though, we never saw it in Modern. We saw Abandoned Standard never come away, and it's kind of showing you that it's powerful, but it's kept in check. And Teferi is like, hi, Jace. Yeah, you know what? Haven't been around for a while. I don't mean to infringe upon your space, but this is mine now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just for the sheer fact that Teferi is a 3-mana Planeswalker. It's a 3-mana Planeswalker you play on turn 5, and then you can untap 2 lands and hold up your counterspell. So it plays the same land a threat and have a counterspell game that Jace plays in Legacy, because this allows you to hold up your Logic Knot, your Remand, your what have you, or your red burn spell or something to protect it. The way that Forcible allows you to do that with Jason Legacy.
That's true.
That with Jason Modern, you just don't have that without making huge sweeping changes to your deck list to enable something like the blue pitch spell, which is bad. You're just playing a bad card at that point in time, and Jeskai is just playing a lot of powerful 2-mana spells that can really take advantage of the Fairy +1. But yeah, I mean and Jeskai in a field of humans or Affinity or just a bunch of creature matchups, you're looking pretty good.
Yeah, you're not too upset about that.
So I think that Jeskai is gaining a lot of strength right now
because of Teferi, honestly.
Yeah, because you now have this powerful threat in Teferi, so it's pretty exciting. I mean, it's always been around in the format of varying levels of viability, and it's cool to finally see it kind of shift into the tier 1 sort of list a little bit more solidly. Of course, didn't win the team event, but you can't necessarily take one deck and apply it. There's a lot of other constraints, and we can't watch it. It wasn't streamed, unfortunately. I guess we could read tournament coverage to see where the wins fell.
Nope.
There's no coverage at all.
There's a couple of write-ups from earlier rounds. There's also no more deck lists than these 4.
Oh, okay, cool.
So
well, I mean, that makes our job easy. So that was the GP, I guess. Let's move on to the Open in Louisville, and it was a modern Open, just straight modern Open, no sort of team events. So we can definitely see a lot of the successful deck lists here, and to surprise you guys, but there are a couple of Jeskai lists here in the top 8. It was won, though, by Marshall Arthurs playing Mardu Pyromancer.
I love his LP.
the martial artist LP. Yeah. It's really surprising that
Wow, okay. Try that one again.
Eminem didn't sue him for that, but all right, let's move along since I have apparently caught a speech impediment.
They're going around.
So the Modern Pyromancer list has been around and really popularized by Jerry Thompson. And we don't really see too much straying from the pack when it comes to this deck list, in my opinion. Do you see some stuff? Maybe the Ensnaring Bridge in the sideboard.
His main deck is pretty standard. You do see a Dreadbore in the main now, which is becoming more common. And I think of things like Teferi keep popping up.
Oh, for sure. Dreadbore is worth a slot.
But the sideboard is, I think, where it gets a little bit interesting because you have Ensnaring Bridge, as we mentioned, which has not been the most popular tech, but has been around. So 3 copies of Ensnaring Bridge. He's playing 2 Liliana the Last Hope instead of Liliana
the Veil,
of the Veil, which is interesting. And he's gone up to 3 Cabal Console of Allocation. This is a card that continues to seems to get better and better as a way to fight against Storm. Even 3 Surgicals, like his board plan is vastly different than I think what we've seen in the past. And 3 copies of Wear and Tear as well. If we saw even in the finals of the Pro Tour where Jerry really struggled with strong artifacts, so I think it's pretty interesting to see him have those as well. But yeah, so I think Ensnaring Bridge is pretty interesting, especially when you're playing Young Pyromancer and Lingering Souls, because you can always draw a card in your turn and attack with those things, and then get rid of that card.
Right.
So, but I do think it's kind of odd to see Liliana the Last Hope with Ensnaring Bridge, where Liliana of the Veil is the one that normally makes sense with the bridge. So I think it's a fairly unique sideboard, and obviously served him well in the open.
I think Bridge is pretty good against humans. I think it's surprising to see out of this list. You might get caught because most of the humans list are playing Reclamation Stage now, which hits both artifact enchantment, so they can get your Blood Moon or they can get your Ensnaring Bridge. But you're probably just going to overload them at that point in time, or make them have to waste their images on copying kind of a 2/1 that has a positive effect.
I think that also the 4 collective brutalities across the sideboard and the main really work well with that bridge plan, because it's like you just want to empty your hand.
Yeah, and
brutality does everything you want it to do. So.
Especially in many of your matchups, anyone that you're going to have bridge in, it's going to help you out.
Right.
I still like this archetype. I still think it's pretty interesting that we can have a sort of mid-range list that doesn't have to rely on something like Tarmogoyf, or doesn't have to slide into control and play a bunch of blue spells or anything like that. This is a grindy deck that can really function with, in all honesty, a lot of cheap cards. Yeah. Definitely some expensive cards, but a lot of cheap cards too, which is kind of an interesting place to be within the format. But yeah, I dig it. It defeated Jeskai Control, piloted by Jonathan Hobbs, in the finals, and this is more of your typical sort of blue-white control that we see. We
kind of just talked about.
Yeah, we kind of just talked about. Now the other list is a little different.
The 4th place list,
yes, which is what I wanted to talk about. This is the 4th place list piloted by Jimmy Smith. Really enjoyed his stint on Law and Order. It was great in the prequels, actually, of Star Wars.
Oh yeah, so this is the Geist version again. I played this.
So this is 4 snaps, 2 Geist of St. Draft, and 4 Spell Queller, which is pretty awesome when people are trying to cast incounterable spells against you, and you're like, well, I can actually Spell Queller this still, as it turns out. But this is kind of where it's a little bit divergent. We don't see any Teferis in this list or any other sort of planeswalkers. It's really relying on the Geist of St. Draft and the Spell Queller being its sort of finishing blow in a lot of its games.
I find it interesting that, and this is probably just maybe aesthetic, I guess, but he's playing a Lyra Dawnbringer on the sideboard, which the other list is playing actual Baneslayer.
So there's an interesting interaction with Lyra.
Okay.
It's with your Geist of St. Draft. It makes your Angel a 5/5.
Okay, that's it.
That's
I'm glad. Thank you for saying that, because that tech is sweet.
I didn't.
It has lifelink.
I didn't notice that at first, but that does work. So I don't know if that was. I think that was probably a test lot to try it out, since he was playing, Geist of St. Draft, and it's like, well, why not? Like, Baneslayer could still just be better, but
Mr. Smith, I hope you go to Washington and play this list again. Thank you for laughing at that. But also, I really hope that happened. I for your sake and mine, I hope that you got to hit with a 5/5. Yeah, and I hope your opponent blocked with something, thinking like, oh, activate this colonnade, I have to block here, at least I can do this. You know, and like, I guess this makes sense because it would trade anyways. I don't know, something that's a 4/4 flyer that they blocked, and they were like, haha, and you're like,
or
it's a 5/5.
Or they just let it hit them, and that they were being at 5, and they're like, oh yeah, I guess I'm just dead now, aren't I?
Oh man,
it's a narrow sort of thing, but I think it could be interesting if you are playing the Kiki Jiki version, and have Lyra, because obviously it works really well with your Restoration Angels.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
all right.
It is an important interaction to note. There are other angels within the modern format.
Yeah, no, that's
that
good. Well, I was looking for Restoration Angel, and I didn't see that. But then, yeah, the guys, that's a good little nifty interaction.
So let's talk about the rest of the top 8. So we had Peter Tragos playing Green White Hexproof, everyone's favorite deck, crowd favorite. I have seen the change in where you can play your Dryad Arbor already take effect. Definitely saw it played with creatures, so that no one was confused. It's playing. I just have to see what this card is. Oh yeah, try. I can't even say this word. Slopian height.
It's Triclopian.
Triclopian height. Slight. Excuse me.
Triclops.
Yeah. Yes, I see that on the art now. It just gives it +1/+1 vigilance, and you can untap a creature. It has flash.
Yeah, it's flash. So this is like a way for you just to like surprise your opponent. Like, oh, I guess I get to attack here. No, you don't.
Interesting. All right, fair enough.
That's pretty interesting. I think the biggest thing I see from this is the ley lines are in the sideboard.
Oh yeah, that's a pretty big change. Normally we've been seeing just so many of the main deck.
The new norm has been them to be in the main, so you see sort of the metagame shift there.
Maybe with the decline in, hopefully you're trying to dodge Jund.
Yeah, like decline in Jund, and even like Grixis Death Shadow, which does make a couple of appearances here. Like, you are less likely to see a deck, outside of like Mardu Pyromancer, I guess, packing so much discard and sacrifice.
Also on the sideboard is Tocatli Honor Guard, which is Topo Orb on a stick. So
nice.
And then we have Humans, piloted by Dylan Hand, showing up in 5th place. Blue-Red Gift Storm with Caleb Shear, unsurprisingly, landing in 6th. And then 2 copies of Jund. So we have Jaden Clarence playing Jund, and then Jesse Hefner. So 2 pretty notable names on the SCG circuit piloting Jund.
I will tell you this. Jaden had a article today or yesterday about like Jund and like how you're messing up piloting Jund. I gotta tell you, again, not that I shill for this company or anything, but again, if you're wondering if there's a reason to read Premium, her articles have been quite good. Quite good. I think I talked up last week about her article about or a week or two about the Blue White Control, and now we've seen Blue White Control shift totally away from what she was talking about. It was just like, oh, this is so good and spot on. It was great. So, just saying.
So, any of the decks in the top 8 that you wanted to focus in on more?
Not really. A lot of these look pretty. I'm trying to check to make sure I'm not crazy, but pretty straightforward here. Jund doing Jund things, and Storm and Caleb Shearer doing Caleb Shearer things.
Yeah.
No, nothing crazy here to really talk about.
I wanted to bring up Todd Stevens. He was playing Green Light Company. He finished in 10th. And he was playing an Archangel Avacyn in his main deck, and I don't know how long he's been doing that, but it seems pretty good for his particular brand of Green White Company. And Dromoka's Command is something that I saw him playing as well. It's a one of, and then the Boggles list was also playing it as a 2 of. But this is kind of a pretty efficient card that has started to show up in these green white lists, and card's pretty interesting. Does a lot of stuff that seems particularly relevant in modern these days. So I just want to point it out, and man continues to still have success with Green White Company, even though like saying it over and over again that it's not a good deck. But I mean, like, there's another list in 15th place. Gabriel Nixon sort of doing the same thing. No Dromoka's commands from what I can see, but definitely taking advantage of Worship being a very good card again. What?
Worship.
Yeah, Worship.
All right. I keep telling you, it sounds like you say Worship whenever you say that. Like,
sorry.
Which I think is a card. I don't know what War Gate is, but
it's my Warship. warship.
Playing one of those in the main is you're gonna, when you get people, you're gonna get them hard.
It's really good against humans.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's very
go ahead,
very
guys.
Good.
Keep
Just don't care.
So,
but playing it in your main deck is a bit of a risk because some cards, some people just don't care about it. It turns out.
Also, 4-mana enchantments. Like,
yeah. We see Ross Merriam playing Blue Moon, and so this is the Jace the Mind Sculptor deck. Du jour. It's no longer Jeskai control or even blue-white control. It's Blue Moon, and even then,
it's just a 2 of, like, it's not.
It's just a 2 of, and it wasn't necessarily that groundbreaking. I did watch a match between him and JD, and obviously, Bloodbraid Elf frequently beats Jund. So. Frequently beats Jace.
Yes.
Excuse me.
I do want to say, like, you talk about like the format, and a couple weeks ago, I think people were like, people were worried that like Hollow One was going to run away and the format was too aggressive. But like, if you look this week, we've got multiple decks and top 8s of different events playing 5-mana Planeswalkers. We have Ross here playing a main deck copy of Keranos, like a card that just didn't see play for a year. And he's like, you know what? I can main deck this, right? So I think that, like, you see, again, Modern, it just feels like it's in a really good place. Like, you can kind of play what you want. And there's a ton of variation here in this top 32. I think there's only one other real deck I want to talk about, though, that's kind of unique.
Yeah, bring it up.
Talk about that red-green hollow vine.
Oh, you just want to bring it up because of the player's name.
Nixon, the third.
First of all, that's...
If you are that Richard Nixon, the third,
it can't be. It could be, but it can't be, right?
Oh, right. Man!
If you are related to like that Richard Nixon, let us know.
That wasn't the reason. I didn't even notice after I clicked on it. But man, that's
the first thing I saw.
That's a good name. Well, I just want to talk about the deck because it's a little bit interesting, and this is a little bit older take on the Hollow One deck. They're playing 4 Vengevines.
This is kind of where they started out with the list.
Yeah, but there's some things in this one I think are interesting. Namely, Bomat Courier. 4 of them, and that is a card that keeps showing up on a bunch of lists. Jerry Thompson has been obsessed with trying to find the right Bomat Courier deck in Modern, and I think it's one of those cards that you're going to be surprised in a couple years when like Standard rotates and the card's only been like 50 cents to $1 the whole time, and you're like, man, why is Bomat Courier $5? It's like because it just sits in the fringe of Modern, and eventually it's going to do something. So
a weird thing about Bomat Courier, apparently it is for a playset of them online. It's $13.72. Excuse me, $13.
Yeah, they're expensive online.
They're only $3.08 in paper. So hey, just letting you know, might be a good time to pick up some Bomat Couriers. Just in case.
Wrong.
Just in case.
That long-term respect. Just get them delivered to you in the mail.
Yeah, just sit on them.
Ship them by courier.
Yeah, anyways, exactly.
But yeah, I thought it was a kind of a cool take on it. But I just love seeing Bomat Courier show up in random places. So it's like, all right, where could this be useful? Why not here? Why not now? Because it's also randomly one of those cards where you might actually, based on your hand, like discard your whole hand when you still have a lot of cards in hand on purpose. And I think that's always compelling to me.
Oh yeah.
Like, I almost feel like I want to see Dredge now with Bomat Courier.
Oh, well.
Dredge Courier. Build it.
Dredge Courier.
But make it a thing. Yeah, but I think that's kind of it for the open.
Yeah, let's
look at the classic.
Yeah, do you want to look at the Modern Classic or the Standard
Classic? Yeah, let's
Classic?
stick with Modern, so we can stay format integrity.
So it was won by a local, Michael Coyle. So congrats to him on your Classic win. Playing what the only thing you really love in life, apparently, a prison deck.
Yeah, so we have played and interacted with Michael for a little while locally, and every format where he can, the guy is playing some form of prison. Fun fact, never beaten him. I've only played like 3 or 4 matches against him, but I had the unlucky pick to have to play him in that I played in a legacy tournament for Comic Town last year, which there was one where I played Splinter Twin, and I played against him playing his the Metal Worker like just prison deck, and I think at one point I was so lost because I hadn't played it. I was like, just you do what you gotta do, bud. And I lost the Staff of Domination. I was like, okay, just show me a win condition because I don't even know anymore.
I'm out of my depth.
But like his decks, like these, every time I played against him in Modern playing these, like he really is like if you've not played against him before, you've not seen him. He's been doing some streaming too. Like he is a master of this like type of deck and of his lists. Like it is you get used to play patterns when you play against like these kind of decks, and like before, when we had a more consistent take on the Lantern decks. This has moved away from that, but like those style of decks, like the artifact heavy decks, like you get used to play patterns, right? Like, okay, they're going to do this and they're going to do this, and these are their options. And like even like the Korg Clan Ironworks deck, like you can do this, these are your options. Every single time, like I feel like, okay, he's got to do this or this. I feel like I just get blown out by a decision I did not know about every single time, and it's like I could have, I guess, known about it, but he did, and that's the point. And I have a feeling that he like made a lot of people feel like they were doing okay, and then all of a sudden they just were entirely locked, like could not do anything locked, and they just probably sat there and stared at him like, wasn't I winning a turn ago? I don't understand what happened. So if you take a look at this list, it plays one Tezzeret the Seeker, which this has been a list you've seen a little bit online. It plays like Bottled Cloister to make your ensnaring bridges better, and it's just a bunch of just lock cards, and eventually kills you with Pirate Spellbomb. So, or the one, as I said, Tezzeret the Seeker. So,
I definitely, as a person that has lost many times to a Bottled Cloister, whilst playing Michael Coyle, these kind of decks are just out there. They do a lot of things and interact in a different way than what we're typically used to, and I'm glad that he is able to definitely find success in playing a niche sort of archetype and really making it his own. But he's the only guy that I know that plays this particular flavor. But he's been known to anything you can attach prison to is definitely his jam, as it were. He defeated a Green-Red Tron played by Connor Sloan in the finals, and then there's another Green-Red Tron deck there in the top 8. And in the sideboard of this list, they decided that, hey, you know what? 4 Karns, not enough. Not enough. Let's play 2 more in the sideboard. So Karn, Scion, and Verza getting played in Tron sideboard. That's 6 Karns. So we're almost to 8 Karns.
Yeah, we're almost to 8 Karn territory. I feel like
we're almost gonna go full Richard Karn here. And I don't know.
So are we talking like Home Improvement Richard Karn or like
Family Feud
Richard Karn?
I think if we go 8 Karn, we're definitely Family Feud Richard Karn, right? Right now we're in between. Richard Karn has left Home Improvement, has yet to be hired.
For a job. Don't worry, Louis Anderson's about to get fired from the Family Feud.
Yeah, we are definitely in between Richard Karn.
If you're wondering, hey, what happened to I almost said Dio Hughley, the current host of Family Feud. That's not who that is, and I can't remember his name all of a sudden. I don't remember Steve Harvey.
We got there. All right.
Dio Hughley. I don't even know why that popped in my head.
Nope, that's weird.
Oh man, that's really good. Anyways, we're well before that. That's why we haven't gotten to Steve Harvey yet.
That's very true. But I want to check out Harold Coleman's list here and see if we got any more. No, he's not. He's still just 4 Karns.
Oh, he'll learn. He'll learn.
He's clearly made a mistake. More Karns equals better. Clearly. We have Burn applied by Ryan Ferries here in the top 8,
which is pretty impressive because Burns been real bad.
It was in 9th place in the Open as well, but it was the only. I think it was the only one.
If you look at the Magic Online metagame, Burn is getting kicked.
Yeah,
so it's kind of tough, and it's frustrating because it's losing metagame space to things like the Hollow One deck because it isn't consistently faster than that deck. So if you can't beat up on the creature decks at all, what are you gonna do? Like I don't know what you're supposed to do in the format anymore. Oh man! And
the only other interesting list that I see here in the top 16 is a black-white control list, and this is one of the Planeswalker control builds that have kind of been going around Magic on a little bit, and it's Planeswalker saturated.
Many Gideons.
Many Gideons. Gideon of the Trials, Gideon Ally Zendikar, Gideon Jura.
This is like a Bantu's Last Reckoning.
Sure.
Wow.
Why not?
I guess a lot of Planeswalkers, I guess that's fine, maybe.
Yeah. And then we also have a Sorin Lord of Innistrad and a Obnixilis Reignited, so they also play a Teferi.
And an Elspeth Terrell and a Sorin Grimnosis in the
sideboard. Yep.
I think it's fairly interesting that this is. I'm looking here. Okay, there. Okay, I was going to say I think there's no Karns. I'm kind of surprised there's no Karn.
I mean that is pretty surprising. I do think that I don't know. This deck is wild to me. I don't know like what you move or shift around. I do see that he is picking up Cast Down as the 2-mana removal spell, the Doomblade variant of choice, which is probably pretty good.
Yeah,
like,
I would assume so.
Can't kill Kiki Jiki.
Or Tasigur, but
or
Doomblade already couldn't.
Yeah,
so Gopher could, but
you can't kill. What's the Kithkin advisor? Gaddock
Teague, and you can't kill if they play Lyra over Baneslayer.
There you go.
You're out of luck.
Yeah, you can't do that. But this is a kind of an interesting list, and it's under $700, which for Modern, not that bad.
Yeah, I like the other thing it gets to do here. So I guess I just put this together. So the Bontu's Last Reckoning, at one of those, one Damnation, one Day of Judgment, one Wrath of God. It's really hard for your opponent to play the Meddling Mage game.
Like you're playing Meddling Mage me out.
Yeah,
jerk.
Like the Meddling Mage shell game is real tough here because like you name Damnation, you get Wrath. You name Wrath, you get Dade. You get, and the time that you're like, all right, I finally have 3 mages in play. I've named Damnation, Wrath, and Day of Judgment. What could possibly happen? Bontu's Last Reckoning.
You got me.
Just pack it up and go home.
Well, to be fair, their cast downs can't kill Thalia either. So,
but that is a relevant.
That's relevant.
That's
a pretty important one. But yeah, this is another thing that you can be doing in Modern and potentially have success. So, let's take a look at the last tournament then in the Standard Classic. It was won by Ben Weinberg, so a notable name playing, not unshockingly, blue-white control. This one again is the creatureless version, and defeating mono red.
Yeah,
Alex Hahn.
Which I was sort of surprised by that, but then I looked at the list for it, and it sort of makes sense to me because this list was playing 10 4-drops, and it makes sense as to why maybe you had a harder time interacting.
The 4 Rekindling the Phoenix 4 Hazoret is. You're not necessarily going to have the fast starts that you really want to get underneath blue-white control.
Yeah, and I think it's just tough. This is a 25 land version of the deck, so like even calling it full aggro is probably a little like generous. It's got Fight with Fire in the main. It's playing a lot of treasure maps and stuff on the board. Like this deck probably lined up pretty well against most of the format, but this is the version you don't want to be playing against just the blue-white deck. Like blue-white can deal with like Hazarets and Rekindling Phoenixes both pretty consistently. And that's tough because you really need your 4-drops to stick. So then you'd say like, oh, well, you're taxing them, but between Settle and Seal Away and Cast Out, it's tough. It's tough to do that
for sure.
So it makes some sense. Though I do like the fact that Mono Red's getting a little more play on Magic Online. You've seen it too, and I've actually started playing a little bit again too because it's just faster than the red black decks. So they have to have time to set up their 4-mana spells, and if you're playing aggressive enough, you don't want that. You're just not going to do it. But I gotta tell you, I've casted a bunch of different decks now. Goblin Chain Whirler is amazing.
Just a house.
Like I'm actually gonna keep laughing that Rampaging Ferocidon gets to die on the ban list, while Goblin Chain Whirler is like, look at me, I'm swinging
the chain. The only other deck that I really saw this tournament, it's pretty much most of what we've been seeing on Magic Online, the mono greens, the blue-white gifts.
But if you look here, you have 2 blue-white controls, 1 mono red, 1 white-blue gift, 1 mono green stompy, 1 white-black vehicles, 1 black-red vehicles, and then the one I think you're going to talk about.
Oh yeah, the blue-black improvised deck.
Yeah, but you have 7 archetypes in the top 8 here.
And that's great.
Like standard,
for sure.
Definitely better.
But this is the the Merchant Dockhand.
Merchant Dockhand! The world.
Herald of Anguish, and Karn, Tezzeret. This is we're definitely seeing some things going on here. But Antiquities War. This is an Antiquities War deck, which is. I can't believe you're just like not all in. Like I understand Karn, very expensive Magic.
No, yeah,
card.
I have to buy this deck has literally 3 Karns in it. It's $200. So,
but I mean, everything else though,
hard pass. Besides, did it have Jaya Ballard in it? No, I didn't think so.
I mean, fair enough. But I mean, I know you're a fan of the Antiquities War.
No, I'm a big fan of this deck. This is really cool.
But there have been similar styles. This was a Grixis deck previously, so I don't know why you are necessarily cutting the 3rd color, other than either you don't need it anymore, or you can't have it anymore due to deck building constraints. Yeah. But I think this is an interesting thing that you could be doing in this format, and whether or not you do a lot of winning like Benjamin Smith did, I think this deck generates a lot of fun.
Oh yeah,
for at least you. I don't know for everyone else or your opponents, but you are definitely having fun playing this deck. So I think it's pretty nifty.
Yeah.
Anything else in standard that you really wanted to
No, I'm happy to see some
diversity.
Again, some diversity and a meta game reacting to itself, like standard working like it's supposed to. Dominaria, all the time rifts were healed, and now they're healing us.
Yeah, you done did good.
Good job, Dominaria.
All right. So let's head into the wrap-up. A quick shout-out, of course, beforehand to BCW Supplies. You can check them out at bcwsupplies.com if you have any needs. And then, of course, I do want to reiterate and give another shout-out to Barbaric Woodcraft on Etsy. We just got the box that we commissioned from them, and it's amazing. I will definitely tweet out a picture on the At Your Instep account of it, but it's dope. I'm really excited to have it. It came out pretty immaculately, and if you wanted to check out some more of their stuff or maybe commission your own box, check them out. Do a quick Google search for Barbaric Woodcraft, or I think it's etsy.com/Barbaric Woodcraft if I had to guess. But you can find them definitely through Google. So, upcoming this weekend, we have GPDC, which is Team Limited. We have Star City Games in Minneapolis, which is modern again. And then Comic Town. We have the Comic Town IQ, which is going to be standard this time. And then we've had so many modern IQs from Comic Town. It's pretty exciting to have a standard one. I super wish I could play with it. Unfortunately, I have, it's a Memorial Day weekend here in the States, so there's definitely a lot of cookouts and everything like that. It's sort of the kickoff to summer for us. So I know that I'm busy that day, but I really hope that everyone goes out and has a good time at the Comic Town IQ on Saturday here locally. That's going to be everything for us this week. If you want to reach out to us, you can check us out. You can tweet at us via Twitter. We're just Your Instep on there, and then you can add us, and it's at Your Instep. We also have an email address, at yourinstep@gmail.com, or Facebook. Do a quick search for at Your Instep on there. If you're downloading us via iTunes, feel free to leave us a rating or a review. It really helps get eyes on the podcast and get us some new listeners, get the family a little bit bigger. Or if you're listening to us via MTG Cast, definitely check out some of the other awesome shows they have on there. We also have a Patreon, so if you want to become a patron of the show, contribute per show, and really make sure we keep everything running, keep the lights on at home, we would appreciate it. We really can't do the show without our patrons, to be perfectly honest. They help with hosting costs and equipment costs and everything of that nature. And you can check out our Patreon at patreon.com/atyourendstep. That's going to be everything for us this week. We thank you for listening. You have a great one. Bye.